Hello everyone and welcome to another historic video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Reanimator in historic format. So I haven't done a Reanimator in such a long time, and that's because Reanimator kind of fell off, right? Reanimator kind of fell off. The reason why the Reanimator kind of fell off is because there are now decks that just kills you on turn 4, such as decks like Priest of Gigs combo or something like Shifting Woodland, things like that. So for a long time, Reanimator hasn't been great in Historic, but recently I have seen some decks that were playing this card called Breach the Multiverse, which gave me the idea for this deck. So currently this deck is in color Grixis. We're ever so slightly flashing white for a copy of an Unbury Right, but you don't really have to worry about that because a lot of the times we're just going to be playing Persist to reanimate our Conspiracy Unraveler or the Scholar of the Lost Trove. So the way this Reanimator deck works is kind of like a combo deck. There's going to be actually multiple ways of winning in this deck, either through attacking by getting an extra turn with a Temporal Trespass, or you can mill out opponent's deck using Breach the Multiverse multiple times using Immersion Ultimatum with Scholar of the Lost Trove, or, getting an extra turn with the Ulamog, the Defiler, can also win you the game as well, because the moment you cast a Temporal Trespass, that is going to put an 11 mana card into the exile, which means Ulamog, the Defiler, is going to come out with 11 counters. So there's going to be multiple ways of winning with this deck, and the deck definitely benefited a lot from getting this card called Conspiracy Unraveler, and from Pioneer Master we also got Temporal Trespass as well, as I've said before, because the Conspiracy Unraveler can help you cast any card in your hand for free if you collect Evidence 10, which means you just have to exile cards in the graveyard with total mana value 10 or greater. So if you have Breach the Multiverse or Immersion Ultimatum stuck in your hand, you can cast this card by exiling things like Temporal Trespass or Ulamog the Defiler. But you could technically just, exile 3 cards. For example, Immersion Ultimatum, that's a 7 mana card. Founding the Third Path, that's a 2 mana card. And exiling a Faithless Looting, that's total mana value of 10. Most of the times when you cast the Immersion Ultimatum, you're gonna want to get back a Scholar of the Lost Trove, Breach the Multiverse, and a copy of a Temporal Trespass. If the Trespass is already in the graveyard, you can get back a Mythic's Mastery as well. But just make sure that if opponent does give you Scholar of the Lost Trove plus the Breach the Multiverse, you have to select the Scholar of the Lost Trove first so that it goes on stack, so that when you cast the Breach the Multiverse from the Immersion Ultimatum, it goes on top of the stack so that it gets casted first, so that the Breach the Multiverse does go to the graveyard before the Scholar of the Lost Trove effect happens. So I'm kind of excited to try this deck out because it's been a long time since I've played a Reanimator. So having said that, I'm going to be hopping over to some Historic Best of 1 to show you guys how the deck does. So let's hop on over. Number 120. Hope we do draw some. Ooh, is this a control? Oh no. Okay, turn. This looks like Affinity. This actually looks like an Affinity deck. That's actually pretty bad. I might actually bait out the Tormod's Crypt immediately, maybe, right? We'll just persist next turn. Yeah, that's pretty annoying, right? But what can you do? Well, founding here. Kill the Tamio with the Cathartic Pyre. Emery. That's really bad. Yeah, we gotta kill the Emery here. Yeah, Emery is the card that needs to go.
Violence is not the answer.
That's unfortunate. I'll try to get rid of the Tormod's Crypt by playing the Persist. Oh my god. Okay, we can't win. They're playing way too many Tormod's Crypt. Even my version only played 2 copies of it, but it makes sense because they are playing best of 1. Off to a bad start. 3 Tormod's Crypt. That's crazy. Out of Soul. Okay, these are all great cards to have in the yard. Wait, did we just win? Wait a minute. Did we just win? Like what? That was such an insane hit. By the way, like, what? It's actually such a great hand if we can manage to find a red land. I think I might try it. We're looking at top 4 cards. I think it's worth it. Nice. And next turn we Cathartic Pyre, ditch the Scholar into a Persist. Scholar? Let's get rid of a Breach as well. Persist. So, Emergent Ultimatum. Okay. Nobody wants to see the combo. That's... This deck is kind of crazy. We're winning on turn 2. Honestly, I don't mind it. I don't mind it with the Gaze because this basically gives me turn 1 and 2 play. Mono Green Devotion. Pretty fast start with the ley line too. It actually could be Zoo. Breeding Pool, ley line. I'm actually thinking it might be Zoo. Yeah, this is that 1-mana counter spell they play. Yep, it's Zoo. So they have a 1-mana counter spell at the moment, which is pretty bad, honestly. And they also got a Kabu, so I have to potentially win next turn. Like, this is... Oh my god. No way. Do I have enough evidence, though? I don't. No way, hold up. I can Faithless Looting. So, Ulamog is going down for sure. That's instantly 10 evidence. What else are we doing? We're casting the Breach, right? Or are we going Scholar? We could even go Scholar into Emergent Ultimatum. There's so many things we can do here, actually. You know what? Maybe... Huh. Yeah. Let's do this. We'll go Scholar into Emergent Ultimatum. We'll go Scholar again. And then Breach. And we'll go Cathartic Pyre. So they're gonna give us Cathartic Pyre. And they're not gonna give us Breach. It's probably gonna be Scholar. I'm gonna discard the Breach in response to Scholar, so it goes on stack. I was thinking a lot, so my rope is like pretty. This is actually pretty bad. Like, what they gave? What? They gave us Breach. That's my graveyard. I can just Emergent Ultimatum again. Or I can just Breach, actually. $23 cards.
Teamwork triumphs.
And let's just Mizzix's Mastery. Trespass. And we should be able to win next turn. Boom. You do have to think a bit with the ultimatum because there's a lot of choices. Besides that, it's a pretty straightforward deck. Okay. Persist. This is the card that you want to see. I mean, let's just hope. Oh, Strict Proctor. Strict Proctor, huh? They got me there, definitely. We're flooding so much. It's actually insane. Null Drifter. Emergent Ultimatum. So, I mean, this is pretty bad, right? They have a Null Drifter, you know. Scholar doesn't really work at the moment. We gotta get rid of a... Yeah, we gotta get rid of a... I mean, this is still a 5/5. Not that bad, you know? It's not that bad. Let's go with these. I'm not even sure, like, what to even get. Like, Temporal Trespasser for sure. Breach for sure. I have to make choices fast, so I'm just going to put these on the battlefield. Hard. Let's just go Null Drifter.
I mean, we got a lot of cars on the board. Like, surely that's not that bad. Days Undoing. Interesting. Stifle. I mean, this is a lot of damage, so... I mean, they have to block something. That is the worst gaze I've ever seen. No way. Are you kidding me with that gaze? Oh my god. I'll keep that. I mean, it's definitely not over if these get, you know, board wiped. Nice. I was about to say, but a lot of people are only playing Divine Purge at the moment, so... Not bad. Yeah, I think the mana base feels perfect. So far, that's what I've been feeling. I also tested this deck against the Sparky a bunch of times, and the mana base definitely seems perfect. Maybe I want to keep the Faithless Looting. Okay. I just realized my opponent plays 144 cards. They have 144 cards in the deck. I think we're trying to win with Yeah, okay, so when opponent has way too many cards, you just try to win with the Temporal Trespass. Man, we're just not finding anything, huh? Yeah, we're just not finding anything. Okay. This would be a really good time to just win the game. Okay, I actually put a stop just to gaze again because I just got a gaze, but worked out. So we currently all still have a breach. So I'm just going to emerge an ultimatum. Temporal Trespass, Scholar. Breach again. We only need like just one turn to kind of win the game. Okay. So all the breaches are gone. Mizzix, Temporal Trespass, and Persist. $18 cards, so breach is there. I can't cast another breach because they have too many cards. We didn't mill an Ulamog either. Oh my god, Ulamog is at the bottom 8. That's crazy. How unlucky are we? Okay, there we go. Yeah. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we won. Okay. Okay. So far, so good. Like, the deck has been absolutely just crushing. We've only lost one game so far at the very start. And we also kind of overcome a Strict Proctor as well, which is kind of insane. Oh my god. Just like, just so insane, right? Just so insane. Soul Scar. So, what can we get with an Immersion Ultimatum? Immersion Ultimatum, we get a Breach, Temporal Trespasser. This one for sure. Breach for sure. But then we don't have much after. The Scholar's not gonna do anything. I think we go for the Unraveler. So our future turns better. I don't think we're gonna be able to win here. Really? Wow. Okay. That's a way to concede. Yeah, so far the mana base has been absolutely perfect. Which is insane. Also, I don't know why I didn't play the Faithless Looting, by the way. Does anybody know? Does anybody know? I think we actually Faithless Looting instead of a Cathartic Pyre, because Cathartic Pyre you have to discard first before drawing. That's terrible. Yeah, that's actually terrible. grab the prize. So this is a burn deck. We have to go fast. Yeah, I think I'm gonna Faithless Looting again. Oh man, these are just not it. Where are our big spells? Our big spells are just hiding. So bad. We might actually lose because we still haven't, you know, animated anything big, you know? We might actually have to just persist this. Because, okay, there's that Immersion Ultimatum. Perfect. So... 7... 8, 9... I think we just do this. We go Temporal Trespass. Breach for sure. We cast this from hand, so we go Scholar. So this is gonna... The Immersion Ultimatum is gonna go to the graveyard, so... I lied. What? Why didn't the Immersion Ultimatum go to the graveyard? Okay. I made a mistake. Whoops. I didn't know Immersion Ultimatum gets exiled like that. Yeah, that's my bad. So we can persist the Scholar. Did I kill this? Probably not. Yeah, I mean, definitely a bit of misplay here and there. It's either we die here or we win.
I hope you like your hors d'oeuvres extra crispy. Let's bring things up to a simmer.
Okay, I think we won. So what could we have grabbed there? I think the best thing we could have done, instead of grabbing another Scholar, what we could have grabbed was a Unburial Rite, so that we could have actually animated our Ulamog, and then we could have just won next turn. But yeah. Completely forgot about the last text of Immersion Ultimatum. It's been a while since I've cast Immersion Ultimatum, to be fair. I think this one's a mulligan. This one's not very good either. Mono black. Interesting. That is really bad for me. That they're main decking Trespasser. And another thing that's really bad for me is we just flooded to hell and back. Okay. Green. Utopia Sprawl. Wow. That's really bad. Hopefully we mill something really... I don't even know, like another Unraveler. Not gonna do anything with this hand. I mean, we could draw something insane though. We'll see. I think we definitely just play out that's not really that great. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna play this out right now. Okay, thank God opponent just surrendered because they have no idea that we have nothing in our hand. So Scholar out. Black. Well, founding the third path, the Tainted Indulgence. Persist, perfect. Actually, the Scholar doesn't really have a target, which is kind of sad. There could be a target though, like right here. I'm so sad I just drew this. Okay. That's perfect. I'm gonna gaze first before persist. Yeah, these that just don't do anything. Breach. We milled all the breach, so we didn't mill any Emergent Ultimatum. That's fine. Oh wow, this can actually destroy any lands. Alright, so, I mean, potentially the fastest deck ever in Historic format. It just goes so fast. Every game, it just goes so fast. I do think I did get a little bit lucky in the decks that we faced today. And the 2 losses were against decks with a bunch of
graveyard exile spells. So we lost to an Affinity deck that had 3 copies of Tormod's Crypt. In my recent video that I covered Affinity, I was playing Tameo with Emery, and I had some main deck Tormod's Crypt in the deck. Seeing that opponent was also on a very similar list, and they're also pretty high up in the ladder, you know, maybe Affinity is actually really good in Best of 1. So do check that out, the Affinity deck that I played with the Tameo and Emery, with the 4 copies of Kappa Cannoneer. That one seems pretty decently positioned, especially with being able to play Tormod's Crypt main deck. And the other one that we lost to was a mono black deck that was playing a Graveyard Trespasser. We do have 4 copies of Cathartic Pyre for that, but obviously we didn't have it at the time, so I decided that it's probably just better to go to the next game. So that's how we lost the 2 games there. But yeah, I mean, the deck seems pretty insane. So I have seen this deck, Reanimator. I was playing Breach of the Multiverse. It's not quite popular, but I see it time to time. So I decided to try this deck out. Grixis Reanimator. There's a lot of ways you can win with this deck. So for example, you could technically just get an extra turn with the Temporal Trespasser, which we did a few times, and then just attack with you know, army of 6/6 or 5/5 in the air, right? That's gonna be able to win you the game, like no problem. But let's say, you know, the game kind of drags on and opponent has some exile spells and you have to kind of fight through that with the Cathartic Pyres or things like that, or you know, they had some Tormod's Crypt and stuff like that. You could, in the, you know, mid to late game, you know, get an Ulamog down, you know, Emergent Ultimatum into Temporal Trespass, or just, you know, animate a Scholar of the Trove into a Temporal Trespass, and then you could just technically win with the Ulamog as well. There was actually a moment where we could have done that, but I kind of misplayed, thinking that the Emergent Ultimatum does not exile when you cast it. So that's a way to win with the Ulamog. That's why we see an Ulamog here. But not only is the Ulamog good for that, but it can also be exactly 10 evidence for the Conspiracy Unraveler, right? So that's why we're playing a copy on Ulamog. But not only that, this card is also really good versus something like Pesky Enchantments, like 9 lives. If opponent has 9 lives on the battlefield, right? You can attack with this card, and then just, you know, you'll have Annihilator, you know, 7 or 10, depending on whether or not you have, like, Temporal Trespass in the exile, right? If you exile this card, like, if you use this card with the Ulamog is going to come down with the 11 counter. So that should be able to win you the game against, like, things like 9 lives. You can also just kind of win the game by just casting a bunch of Breach the Multiverse. Technically, you can cast this about 6 times. Especially if you cast the Breach of Multiverse from an Emergent Ultimatum, right? That's when you know that you can potentially just mill out your opponent, because if you cast the Emergent Ultimatum on the Breach of Multiverse and they give it to you, that means you can technically cast it more times with the Scholar of the Lost Trove, right? So depending on like how the game is going, like this deck can kind of win in multiple different ways, which is kind of cool. And it's actually pretty important that you're playing a Temporal Trespass too. It's not mandatory if you don't have this card. Like for example, you could just play Alrund's Epiphany if that's the only extra turn spell you have. You could try, you know, Expropriate as well, because this is a 9-mana card. But the important thing is that you want to play an expensive spell, right? The Temporal Trespass is funny enough that you could technically hardcast this by, you know, delving 8 cards. That's definitely a possibility, but the reason why like this is really good is because this is an 11 mana card, right? So this by itself collects the evidence for the Unraveler immediately, which is really good. And it also synergizes pretty well with the Ulamog as well, right? Because if you cast this card, it goes to the exile immediately, and the Ulamog gets benefit. One thing that I thought about potentially, it's not mandatory, but I was thinking about maybe like having a card of Final Parting, because like let's say if the Scholar plus Emergent Ultimatum were to be in the graveyard and this is your only hit, then you want to select something like a Temporal Trespass, another copy of a Scholar, plus a Breach the Multiverse, right? This is most of the times you're gonna want to do that, or you know, instead of a Temporal Trespass, you want to go Unbury Right or Mythic's Mastery, or you know, Persist. Or you could also, you know, have a Traveler, Unraveler as well, but sometimes you might not have any cards in your hand, right? So situations like that could happen, is where the Final Parting could be useful against situations like that, when you don't have anything other than Emergent Ultimatum in the graveyard plus a Scholar, and then you persist the Scholar, then you have Final Parting, Scholar, plus a Breach, which can put another Emergent Ultimatum in the graveyard. That'll actually chain into potentially milling out your entire deck into Reanimating, right? But those are kind of very niche situations. Like, you don't technically need this, but it's a potential, right? It's a potential. You could have it. The thing is, like, the deck is pretty filled to the brim. Not even sure like what I can even cut in this deck, to be fair. Because I feel like I do want the Trespass plus a Ulamog for sure, and I can't really cut any of the, you know, combo cards like these cards, which kind of leaves well, I can't really cut Persist either. So I guess it has to be either the Mythic's Mastery or the Unbury Right, but I don't know. Unbury Right is kind of awkward in the deck because it does kind of force our mana base to have some white mana. That's why you see these weird pathways here. Like, we have Mana Confluence, these this pathway and that pathway, right? Most of the times you're just gonna want to put these on the black and blue, because don't even bother putting it on white, because a lot of times you're gonna have the Mana Confluence anyways. But this is like kind of an insurance. Like, sometimes, like, you know, your turn 4 comes in and you need to cast Unbury Right. That's where the pathway comes in, right? So potentially. So yeah, that is gonna be it for today's video. The fastest deck I've ever seen. 10 and 2 in 43 minutes. And a lot of turn 2 wins as well. So yeah, that is gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye bye.